Glad to have you back. You're still watching the morning show here on Arise News. Well, time now for the week that was. Let's take a look at the top stories that made headlines around the globe this week. We're starting with former president of Ghana, Jerry Rawlings, who died from complications of COVID-19. Well, according to reports, the ex-president died at Kolebu Teaching Hospital in Accra, capital of Ghana, on Thursday morning. Jerry Rawlings was a military ruler who later joined politics. He led a military junta until 1992 and then served 2 terms as the democratically elected president of Ghana. Rawlings ruled Ghana from 1981 to 2001. He died at the age of 73. Well, Jerry Rawlings there, a figure that some loved, some hated. Well, that's life. Some people will love you, some people will hate you, definitely.
Of course.
But a soldier who took off his military cap and had his foray into politics. At a point in time, the world was begging Rawlings not to kill some Ghanaian leaders. He refused. He went ahead and killed them. That was, again, he came and kind of turned Ghana around. It's interesting the legacy he has left behind of a Scottish father, but brought up by his mother in Ghana. And he adopted Ghana as his home country.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of different opinions, like you said, some loved, some hated, in varying degrees, actually. Well, now let's talk about the fact that the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, is saying that Nigerians' judgment debt profile has reached an alarming and embarrassing level, while urging the National Assembly to urgently approve more funds for settlement of such debts obtained by citizens and organizations from the courts within and outside the country. Now, Malami, while appearing before the Senate Committee on Judiciary to defend his ministry's 13 billion naira 2021 budget, estimates say that provisions have been made by the government in the current budget to address the judgment debts of the country before it goes out of control. Now, one of those judgment debts definitely have to do with the PNID situation, which he has actually lamented over a period of time. First of all, this was all the way back in 2017. As a result of interest, it has gone up from about 6.6 billion to 9.4 billion right now. And then they did get the chance to appeal, but they had to pay about $200 million in the interim. So I mean, that still has a lot of questions around it. People still doubting different legitimities of that particular case. Why was he handled outside the country? How did the lawyers argue? What really happened? Why was, Nigeria silent during this gap where they were supposed to respond after the $40 million investment? So there are so many situations around that, but I understand where it's coming from. It's alarming. It's embarrassing.
All that has been overtaken by events because Nigeria is winning the case as it is today. I don't remember, but I think the money was paid back, the money you were talking about, because it was for the case to be adjudicated upon. Yeah. I think. I can't quite remember. I think the money was paid back. And Nigeria has had, looks like at every turn, Nigeria had one against PNID. But he said that that's arising from bad cases, contract failures, damages, especially fines against human rights abuses. And then he's requesting the Senate to approve 30 billion in what year? In 2017, he said they've paid out of the 150 billion, they've been able to pay 10 billion. And that's the remaining 140 billion. It's quite a whopping figure.
It is.
One hopes that Nigeria gets rid of that. All right, we'll leave there and go to the next issue, and that's the United Nations reiterating its support for the hashtag EndSARS protesters' agitations for social justice and good governance, describing the peaceful campaign, which later snowballed, as we all know, into violence when hoodlums hijacked it to loot and touch public-private assets, including police stations, as legitimate. Answering questions from State House reporters after leading a UN delegation to a meeting with Buhari, Deputy Secretary General of the UN and former Minister of Environment, Mrs. Amina Mohammed, stated that the entire organization were alarmed by the weight of the protest and consequent level of destruction that followed. Moreover, dozens of prominent activists have been named in a legal complaint for allegedly promoting the hashtag EndSARS protest on Twitter. The complaint, which has been filed under the name of Kenechukwu Okeke, who claims to be a human rights activist, suggests that the well-known protesters, including Aisha Yusufu, Foz, Davido, Wizkid, Tiwa Savage, Banky W, senior pastor of Daystar Christian Center Samademi, Kanu Wankwo, the ex-footballer, Rona Rice news anchor, Leila Johnson Salami, and 41 others conspired to disturb the peace in the Abuja area with their encouragement of the protest with their tweets, lots and lots about the EndSARS protesters. In that, when he also met Buhari, she also said clearly that the UN, they were, to use the word, the way that the government responded to the protest, it was nice because they responded quite well to the protest. She also said that in that particular talk with the president, but there's so much surrounding the EndSARS protests, with Okeke going to court saying that his things were destroyed. They affected also his fundamental human rights. And then, of course, now the 16 EndSARS protesters themselves, 16 of them out of the 20, are also going to court. They're also in court against the central bank of Nigeria.
I understand where he said, it was an infringement of his own rights as well, because, his freedom of movement and all of that. But the question is, taking that amount of people to court, if you're going to do, you might as well just take everyone, every single person who was at that protest. Because, yes, you might be able to point faces and point fingers because these people are known, but there were people who started up more fire that he's not even aware of. So one tweet may have gotten, about 100,000 retweets, but there are people on Twitter that were garnering 50,000. What am I saying, 50,000, 500,000? They were garnering major movement. They were influencing highly on the protest. So it's like, what? So because they're celebrities, you just want to... I mean, for me, I don't understand the crux of this issue.
It is his choice.
I agree with you. It is his choice. But I don't think he's gonna go far with this. I think it's just not for nothing.
Well, it's for the courts.
It's just gonna already tarnish.
It's for the
his
courts
image.
to decide.
Yeah.
He's gone to court.
Definitely.
It's for the courts to decide. Whichever way the pendulum swings.
Well, good luck.
It's for the courts to determine whether he has a prima facie case or whether it's frivolous or not. It's for the courts to decide. But he's gone to court. And that's what we're reporting. And that's our business to report.
It is. It's an interesting one, honestly speaking. Anyway, what I would say again is, with regards to this, what I just understand from everything he has done is that this young man did not understand the essence of the EndSARS protest. And I would say I don't even think he was for the EndSARS protest either. Everybody has their grouse. The EndSARS protesters had their grouse. Yeah. He himself has a grouse. His grouse was because of the EndSARS protests. Oh, yeah. His grouse was because the EndSARS protest eventually was overtaken by hoodlums who became violent and stopped movement and made it difficult to move around in the FCT. That was his grouse. So if not for the EndSARS protest, he wouldn't even have a grouse. But during the EndSARS protest, did he come out to say, oh, yes, absolutely, police brutality, this needs to end? But the EndSARS protest ends and he has something to say. That's exactly what he's saying. And just like a free Nigerian, he's free to go to court. No, he is. But we're also allowed to, discuss our opinions on that particular situation. Well, we just report and we just talk about it, not really giving our opinions. The court will give. But you did have an opinion on the EndSARS protest. No, you talk about. We'll take a break. I'm just talking about taking a break. We'll take a break and be back and continue with the rest of the program. Yeah. Let's tell you that Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has unfolded a plan to stop the payment of pension to predecessors and former deputy governors. The governor, while presenting his 2021 appropriation bill to the House of Assembly, said he would soon send an executive bill to repeal the Public Office Holder Payment of Pension Law 2007 that empowers the state government to pay pension and provide other welfare benefits, including houses in Lagos and Abuja, vehicles and other accoutrements of comfort to the former governors and their deputies. The 2021 budget estimates titled Budget of Rekindled Hope is higher than the 2020 budget by 234.5 billion naira, while the 2020 budget was reduced to
920.5 billion due to the COVID-19 pandemic that ravaged the world, is still ravaging the world this year. The governor, who presented a 1.155 trillion estimate to the legislature for approval for the 2021 fiscal year, said the executive bill is aimed at repealing the law in order to free the state government of the legal obligations for a step to reduce the cost of governance in the state. What a wonderful idea that is. And interestingly, it's always good for people to give people a benefit of the doubt. That's how I've always lived my life. Give people a benefit of the doubt before I start talking. The talk was that, did he consult well? Didn't he consult well? Can he carry out this? First off, it's a fantastic idea.
It is.
It's over time. I mean, Serap has had to go to court about this issue. These people are still working. They're still serving the nation. Why are they taking pensions, for God's sake? And these are whopping amounts of money. And like you heard, house in Abuja, house in Lagos for both the governor and the deputy, yet they're still serving, they're still earning. That sounded horrible. Actually, the leader of the APC, Bola Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu, has come out to support Sanwo-Olu, interestingly, because, I mean, that was where people were pointing fingers. Will he be able to? But he has come out to support Sanwo-Olu, that this is and everybody, he's even asking everybody to go along with it and support the man. And then the governor of Kwara State is also taking a cue from Governor Sanwo-Olu to also repeal this particular law. And that will be fantastic. And there are so many other things that should be repealed so that all those monies can be recouped. And
regenerated, or let me use the word redistributed to other areas that actually need. This reminds me of the hashtag #NasPayCut that was also trending a few weeks ago. I think this is a step in the right direction,
it is.
Honestly. All right, now let's move on to the fact that the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, is saying to complete 711 highway projects in 2021. His ministry will require over 6.26 trillion naira. Now, the minister said the 2021 budget provision of less than 300 billion for the project was a drop in the ocean. The minister raised his concerns during a 2021 budget defense session before the House Committee on Works in Abuja. Now, he recommends that rather than expanding the projects being financed through Sukuk, efforts should be channeled towards the completion of entire green network covering of the 4 major ports in Lagos, Warri, Port Harcourt, and Calabar. Now, to an extent, I do agree with where he's coming from, because as opposed to just starting up something new, let's finish up the old, because there was a plan. There was a plan. There was an initial plan as to how these projects would help people. So regardless, it's still meeting the same end goal, helping the people. So let's finish up the end before we start, beginning with something new.
You can't fault that. The president actually said that the projects they're doing are actually projects from the past government.
Yes.
And government is a continuum. And that's the way it ought to be. Why do you start a project, another one, when you have not finished the one you're doing? So it makes a lot of sense. The point is that you see legislators want to kind of get a piece of the action. They want projects for their constituencies, and so you find out that these things are littered here and there. And he's made a very fantastic suggestion. Let's finish the ones we have started that are already on ground. And then we can think about going on to other projects, which makes sense. That way he saves money. That way there's continuity, instead of pumping money and doing other projects where there are still ones that are still idling about.
Exactly. So and finally, we can actually see the end product of what it's supposed to be.
When you start, God is called the author and finisher.
Yeah.
Because whatever he starts, he finishes. And every human being should start a project and finish it. If you start a project, you can't finish it. What's the essence?
Honestly speaking, what is the essence? Well,
all right. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the reinstatement of the suspended Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos, Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundipe. Ogundipe was controversially removed from office by the Wale Babalaki-led governing council of the university in August this year over allegations of misappropriation of funds, among others. But President Buhari immediately instituted a panel to investigate the allegation. His reinstatement was contained in a statement released by the Ministry of Education's Director of Press and Public Relations, Bemben Gung. the Governing Council of the university, chaired by Dr. Wale Babalakin, was also dissolved. Interesting. We did interview, it was myself and Femi, we did interview Wale Babalakin when this issue was on.
Okay.
And Wale was telling us about a constitution that did not exist, where he derived his power from to sack Ogundibe. And the argument then from even the lecturers was that due process was not followed. It's not a question of whether he went against the laws, but let due process be followed. So a committee was set up by the president, and they have come out. And he's been reinstated. Now, but there's a caveat. He's been reinstated. Are the accusations going to be swept away? Are they going to now follow due process and find out by investigation whether what he was being accused of, whether he did it or not?
That's a very essential question. But let's see, I guess time will tell. Like you said, let's see how they handle this.
Yeah.
Well, a global alliance championed by the United States has committed itself to assisting Nigeria and other West African countries to combat terrorism. Now, the U.S. Department of State said the resolution was taken at a virtual meeting with members of the coalition and representatives of West African states and other relevant regional organizations. This global coalition to defeat ISIS resolved to apply lessons learned from the fight against ISIS in Iraq and Syria to defeat Boko Haram and other terror groups in West Africa.
Yeah, actually, this was at the instance of the U.S. and Nigeria. It was a virtual meeting, but it was convened at the instance of both Nigeria and the U.S. to help other African states concerning insurgency. And then the question I asked Feni, what I was the first or so, is, what do you think? Why is America at this point in time, coming up with this?
Do you think it has anything to do with the elections?
Elections, they're done with.
Exactly. So
whatever Trump is doing is the elections are done with. I mean, Biden has 306 electoral votes,
yes,
and he has 232. So, and I mean, his lawyers have gone to court and concerning Michigan and Wisconsin, and they told them, excuse me, just get out of the court.
Yeah.
You don't have anything to say here. So one is wondering why at this time. But the thing that is important is not even why this time. It's been done, and it's good. It's good if the U.S., because they have superior, if you like, superior tech equipment in terms of what you need to fight insurgency and maybe intelligence. So, yeah, if they can come in and help both Nigeria and other West African states, beautiful.
I mean, this is a welcome issue. Honestly, I wish it happened earlier, but it's never too late.